Hello, boys and girls. This is teacher Leonardo Silva. Can you see from there? Leonardo Silva. I will be your English teacher for today. Okay, so I hope you enjoy your class. Okay, let's get started. All right, and this is an English class, as you may have noticed at this point, because that's what I'm speaking right now, English. So let's go for a ride. Okay, welcome seventh graders. This is a class made just for you. Okay, today we're learning about a very important verb tense, which is past simple. But past simple uh, um, it's simple, but can be a little complex. So today we're learning basically the easy part. We're talking about the regular verbs, okay? We're not talking about irregular verbs. It's going to be for another day, for another class, okay? But what is the past simple? Why do we need to use the past simple? Well, the past simple, like the name is saying, it's to talk about things of the past. And it's the most common past tense of all. Okay, it's actually the most common way of talking about past events or states which have finished. Okay, so remember this: when we're talking about something of the past and the action or the state had finished, then we usually use past simple. When the state or the action is still happening, then we use a different verb tense, but we're not focusing on this one right now. Okay? It is used often with past time references. Okay, so you can use yesterday or 2 years ago or last week or last summer, and so on. Okay, so we just indicate that it happened in the past and it stayed there. All right. And you guys might be thinking, oh no, teacher, please explain to me what past events or states are. That is so confusing, like that doggy right there. Okay, let's go ahead. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to teach, to help you learn, and you're here to learn. So, no shame in that. Okay, a past event could be one thing that happened in the past or a repeated thing. Okay, look at the examples. I stopped at a pedestrian crossing. Okay, so that's a pedestrian crossing right there, by the way. So that was an action that happened in the past. It's an action. You were walking and for some reason you just stopped. Okay, we carried on with the test. We carried on with the test. Okay, we continued doing the test. Okay, that is also an action. We played tennis every day in August. So you're also talking about something that happened repeatedly for a while, in this case in the month of August. Okay, we assume that was the past August, the last August. Okay, so these are actions or events that happened in the past. Okay, a state is a situation without an action happening. Okay, so usually when you talk about state, we usually talk about feelings. Okay, about for example, senses, when you use verbs related to senses. Okay, about things that we feel. Okay, so that's an example right there. Okay, we stayed at my grandparents house last summer. All right, so this is not an action. Okay, it's not an action, it's a state. You stay there. Okay, you didn't have to perform any action or had to actually do anything to stay at your grandparents house, right? It's just something that happened in the past, and just remember, it stayed in the past. Okay, but Then you might be asking, how do we form the past simple, right? It's so interesting. Yeah, teacher, of course, we learned about present simple, right? About things that the present simple, about routines or things that we do frequently in the present tense, right? We also learned at this point about present continuous, right? Which is the kind of present that indicates something happened exactly at this moment, at this very moment. And you're bringing this stuff and it sounds super interesting, but how do we form that? Let's go ahead and learn. That's what we're here for. We're here to learn. Okay, so regular past simple form, at least the regular verbs, they're super duper easy, guys. All you have to do is add ed. That's it. Okay, all right. You grab the infinitive form of the verb, you add ed at the end of it, and poof, just like magic, it's there. Okay, so look at those examples right there. Start, okay, started. Kill, killed. Jump, jumped. Okay, notice that we just add ed. Okay, and I know maybe you guys noticed that the pronunciation changed, right? Start, started. Kill, killed. Jump, jumped. Okay, but we're talking about this a little bit forward still in this class. Okay, so stay tuned, stay right there, because it's not as simple as it sounds. It's not just not adding ed, at least not to all verbs. It can be true to a big part of the verbs, but there are others that it changes a little bit. Let's talk about those, right? There are some spelling rules. Okay, it's not quite simple, right? You might be thinking at this point, teacher, why can't it be just that simple, right? Yeah, guys, I agree 100% with you, but when you learn a new language, it's a new challenge every time, and that's what we're here for. We're here to learn. Okay, so if a verb ends in E, for example, you just add the D. Okay, so this is simple, right? And it makes a lot of sense. If you have the E there, why put another E, right? So agree. Do you agree? Okay, agree, agreed. Like, you already have the E there. It's there. Liked, escape, escaped. Okay, very simple. But there are more. If a verb ends in a vowel and a consonant, the consonant is usually doubled before ed. Okay, so verbs like stop, okay, you double the consonant. Okay, so stop becomes stopped, stopped with two p's. Plan, planned with two n's instead of one. It's just a rule. It's something that we need to learn. It's something that we need to know. But let me tell you this, don't worry about memorizing all these rules at first, okay? Next class, I'm gonna bring some activities. We're gonna have plenty of time to exercise and learn. We're going to learn this naturally, okay? There are more. If a verb ends in a consonant and a Y, you take off the Y and you add IED. Okay, so try becomes tried, carry becomes carried. But you have to remember, if the verb ends with a consonant and Y, okay, you take off, you take the Y, you omit, right? You drop the Y and you add I. On the other hand, if the word ends with a vowel and Y, then we add the ED, okay? it is a little complicated. It is hard to memorize, and that's why I don't want you guys to memorizing this. Going to practice, like I said, you're going to bring some exercises, and you're going to have plenty of time to memorize, to learn this. At some point you're going to learn this by heart. Okay, so play becomes played, and enjoy becomes enjoyed. Okay, now I'm pretty sure that at this point you guys are thinking, okay, not quite so easy, right? And there's more coming, right, teacher? I know that when we learned present simple, when it's he, she, or it, we add the s, but only the affirmative form, negative, and question goes back to the original form because you're using the do or doesn't. Okay, well, I have some good news for you here, all right? Because in the past simple form, uh, it doesn't matter what the subject of the sentence is. It doesn't matter if the pronoun is I, you, he, she, we, they. It does not matter, okay? You have only one form, okay, for the verb in the past, okay? So, yay, good news, except for the verb to be. Verb to be is a different case, okay? We're learning about this in a few more classes. So fear not, okay? But the rest of the verbs, it doesn't change. As long as you learn those rules, you're good to go. All right? Um, but teacher, I heard you saying, I heard the pronunciation changes here and there when you pronounce those words, even though they had ed at the end. Okay. Well, what's up with that? What is up with that? What about the pronunciation? Well, we have different ways to pronounce. Okay. That are basically, I mean, there are three kinds, actually, there are only three kinds of pronunciation with the past simple ed ending. Okay. We have a d sound, we have a t sound, and we have a id sound. Id. Okay. You guys may have noticed this at this point. I'm pretty sure you guys are super, ahead of the game, concentrated, paying attention to all the details, right? I knew you were gonna ask this. I knew I couldn't get away with it. So let's go. Let's look at the examples here. We have a d sound, d. We have a t sound, and we have a id sound. So look, pay attention, and it's a very common mistake among students, right? Making the mistake when they pronounce. So this is important, but again, this is nothing that you guys need to memorize. Okay, this is not something that you memorize. Actually, it's something that you practice. You get exposure to the language, and the more exposed you are, the more common, the more natural it becomes to your ears. Okay, but we need to know that stuff. Okay, so look at this. The d sound. Arrived. Look, not arrived. I see a lot of students saying arrived. It's not arrived, it's arrived. Failed, failed. Agreed, agreed. Even though there are two E's in this case, you just pronounce the D. T sound. Asked, asked. Crossed, crossed. Stopped, stopped. And I urge you guys to exaggerate your pronunciation, at least at first, because when you do this, your brain gets used to your tongue, the muscles of your mouth and your tongue, they get used to that pronunciation, and then it becomes a lot more natural over time. And finally, you have the I, the sound. Wanted, okay? It's not want, it's wanted. You pronounce the I. Decided, started. Again, of course, I'm exaggerating. I just want to show you guys the difference in the pronunciation. Wanted, wanted, decided, started. But it's important to the id at the end. And then you guys are like, oh no, but I need to study this stuff. Teacher, don't tell me I'm going to learn this naturally because it's not going to happen. How do we know how to pronounce each one? Well, there are rules for that, even though I don't want you to worry about. But, and the cliffhanger is here, it's a great question, but we're gonna leave this for our next class because this one is over. Okay, so I'd like to thank you all. Okay, this is the end. Okay, so thank you all for your time, for pay attention. You guys behaved really well today, and I guess I see you around. Goodbye. Where's my hand? My hand's right here.